Wurmple. A common early game bug. Wurmple was, of course, introduced in Gen 3, and is well known for being a Pokemon that can evolve into two different Pokemon at seemingly near random, due to it being based on the character values, and you have absolutely no control over that. It's prominent in both its games of origin, Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. However, it's also surprisingly prominent in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, due to it being one of the few bugs that aren't found in honey trees. The only ones that I can think of that aren't are Kricketot and Skorupi. Wurmple has a base stat total of 195, with its highest being in attack and HP, which both have a 45 base stat. However, it can only learn 3 moves: Tackle, String Shot, and Poison Sting, and it does not have the ability to learn TMs. However, one positive Wurmple does have is its ability Shield Dust, which nullifies additional effects of moves targeting Wurmple. So a move such as Sludge Bomb would not have a chance to actually poison Wurmple. Pokemon challenges aren't a new thing. That should be obvious. You could say they go back to 2010, considering that's where Nuzlocke really became known. But around, I would say, 2 years ago, Pokemon challenges really blew up. Such things as, can I beat Pokemon with this Pokemon? Can I beat Pokemon blindfolded? Or can I beat Pokemon without gaining levels? Just to name, like, a few examples. I'm just trying to say what I'm doing isn't new. It's not original. But I've really wanted to try it myself just to see if I could do it. And since I had just recently beaten Pokemon Emerald for the first time, what better to center my challenge around? What better game to do than Emerald? And of course, I had to figure out what Pokemon I would even do for it. Zigzagoon? Too obvious. Seviper? That's not even in the game. Then eventually it hit me. Wurmple. Wurmple would be an interesting challenge, especially because of its inability to learn TMs. That means for the entire run, I had to rely solely on Tackle, String Shot, and Poison Sting. That would be tough, if not near impossible challenge for sure. But I now had, like, the primal urge to see if I could even do it. And of course, have some friends watch to see the chaos that would ensue. Links to their stuff will be down in the description, so definitely go check them out. So with this preamble finished, welcome to Can I Beat Pokemon Emerald with only a Wurmple? The game starts out as normal, with Professor Birch's diatribe. I select a female player and name myself as Normal. Yet again, this part is normal, and just like regular Emerald, we watch the cutscene with the truck and meet our mother and enter our house in Littleroot town. We proceed to set the time and we're ready to proceed in the game, but we can't get our Wurmple just yet. We have to go meet Brendan in his house, and then once we finish getting treated rudely by him, by the way, we can finally go and actually obtain our worm. We see that Professor Birch is getting attacked by the usual Zigzagoon, and we go into his bag and grab a Pokemon, which of course, as the challenge entails, we pick Wurmple. And when I did, this happened. Yeah, okay.
Okay, Zigzagoon.
Zigzagoon.
I'm just saying, like...
No fucking way! Whoa! No, it's shiny! What? No! Oh my god! Oh my god! That's a shiny Wurmple!
Let's fucking go.
Let's go! Somehow, on the first try, I had obtained a shiny Wurmple. In Generation 3, shinies have a 1 in 8,192 chance of appearing, and it appears that I was just lucky enough to find one. I knew this was fate telling me that I was made to do this run, so after I just narrowly beat that Zigzagoon, we returned to Professor Birch's lab and get the rundown, and declined nicknaming Wurmple, because Wurmple should be Wurmple. Now, we just have to proceed to Route 103, and meet back up with Brendan. Since Wurmple was in Torchic's spot, Brendan will have Mudkip, which is a bit of a worry for me due to Mudkip being the more defensive out of the 3 starters, and having a limited access to moves will make fighting Mudkip much harder than you think. So we talk to Brendan and begin the fight. We hit Mudkip with Tackle and get a lucky crit, taking Mudkip out in a single hit. Appears my worries weren't a problem just yet, though definitely in later sections of the game, it could definitely be a big worry. With that, we are able to proceed forward. We basically just have to go back to Littleroot and speak with Professor Birch, because we actually have to obtain the Pokedex like we do in every game. Now that we have, we're free to continue. We have one last interruption, but this time it's the most beneficial interruption in the game, which is obtaining the running shoes. We finally are able to move at the speed of sound, which is going to be great as that'll help speed up the rest of the run. So glad I didn't choose Pokemon Red, as running shoes don't exist. We finally go to Route 102, where not really much happens, but we do fight our first non-rival battle, being a battle with youngster Calvin. We proceed to Petalburg City and meet Norman in the gym. Like a usual run of Pokemon Emerald, we have to watch Wally catch his Ralts, so that then later we can actually proceed. Moving forward, Route 104 was also uneventful. I did catch a Marill, but that won't really be noteworthy until far later in the game. We then enter Petalburg Woods, and like previous locations, it really just wasn't that eventful. We did fight our first Team Aqua Grunt, and his Poochyena wasn't that big of a problem. I mean, we may not have any Bug-type moves, but Dark isn't really that good against us still, so in a couple of tackles, that Poochyena was taken out. We were able to make it out of the woods, and finally make it to the city of the first gym, Rustboro. Roxanne was the first major scare of the run, by far. Since she's a Rock-type gym leader, she is exactly what Wurmple is weak to, in every single aspect. She has 2 Geodude and a Nosepass, and their base stats for defense are 100 and 135 respectively. And with Wurmple's only attacking moves being Tackle and Poison Sting, it would mean that I had to get both a high damage roll and a crit for every tackle to take out her Pokemon. Poison Sting would be a lot worse in regards to the Geodude, since they are both rock and ground. That could have gone a lot worse. Now, with that finished, we're now able to go save Pico in Rest Turf Tunnel, and once we enter the cave, we fight another Team Aqua Grunt and save Pico so that we can gain access to Mr. Briny. We do have to deal with some stuff with the Devon and the Pokénap, but once we do, we can feel free to just move on. And on the way, I did catch an Abra and a Zigzagoon for general HM usage. We do meet Brendan again, before we actually leave Rustboro. However, this is actually one of 2 optional Brendan fights, and since I want to do minimum battles to the best of my ability, I declined. So we then just head back to Mr. Briny's house. Mr. Briny leads us to Dewford, and I planned to do Granite Cave, however I didn't realize you actually had to beat Brawly in order to use it, so I chose to do that instead. So after getting through the dark sections of Brawly's gym, it was finally time to fight him. Unlike Roxanne, Brawly wasn't too much of a worry in comparison. Bug resists fighting, so even though we didn't have any super effective moves on him, he didn't have any super effective moves on us. Brawly has 3 Pokemon, a Meditite, a Machop, and a Makuhita. They aren't too dangerous, but Meditite resists poison, so we have to make sure to use Tackle on that. With a couple of tackles later, we got through the Meditite and Machop, and of course last the Makuhita, allowing us to get the 2nd gym badge. We're also now able to use Flash outside of battle, so we're now able to do the dark sections of Granite Cave. Once we do, of course, meeting with Steven, we now can just feel free to move on to Slateport. Once we actually arrive to Slateport, we do a lot of the normal story beats. We speak to Stern's assistant, we go to the museum, we fight Team Aqua, we meet False Archie, but we don't fight him, so not much really happens there. But after all the story beats are done, we can feel free to just, of course, move on to Route 110. Now, if this was actually a Nuzlocke, this upcoming battle would actually be the hardest thing in the game. Since this is just a Wurmple only run, it's not as scary as it could be, which is Brendan's technically third battle, but for us it's the second. Since Wurmple was in Torchic spots again, Brendan's team would be Lombre, a Pokemon that I forgot the name of it. Maybe if you remember the name of it, can you leave it in the comments? That'd be greatly appreciated. And Marshtomp. Lombre went down no problem thanks to Poison Sting. I'm pretty sure grass is the only thing poison is actually super effective on, so that was a lucky thing to have. But the Pokemon that I keep forgetting the name of needed a couple of tackles before it could be taken out. It seems that it is pretty defensive. And Marshtomp was a bit of a challenge as well, due to its defenses, but in just a couple of tackles too, it was able to be taken out. Now that that battle's over, we can feel free to just move on to Mauville City. Once I got to Mauville City, I immediately went for the Mach Bike. Like, that was the most necessary thing. If Running Shoe was great, the Mach Bike is godlike. We need it in order to speed up the run and just traveling the overworld. We were about ready to fight the third gym, but of course we had to fight Wally first. And of course, in this battle, all he has is a Ralt, so it's honestly not that difficult at all. Wurmple is a bug type after all, however, yet again, looking at Wurmple's moveset, no bug type moves are actually possible. The only attacking moves, yet again, are just Tackle and Poison Sting. But Ralts isn't that defensive of Pokemon, so in a single tackle, Ralts was defeated. Now, the third gym is going to be a bit difficult. Probably not as difficult as Roxanne's, but it's definitely going to be a bit easier due to this being Wattson's Emerald team and not his Ruby or Sapphire team, as he doesn't have Magnemite and Emerald. Wattson's team is Voltorb, Electrike, Magneton, and Manectric. Voltorb wasn't too much of a problem, but it easily could have been if it hit with Sonic Boom. Wurmple doesn't have that much high HP, so Sonic Boom, which does a static 20 damage, could have easily been scary. And Electrike wasn't too much of an issue either. Wurmple took out both in a single tackle. But Electrike did paralyze Wurmple with static, so we were paralyzed for the rest of the battle. Magneton was the biggest worry due to its high defensive nature, and it did confuse Wurmple. But luckily, a high rolling tackle was able to take it out quickly. That was a close one, I swear. Lastly was Manectric, and 2 tackles were able to take it out successfully. This could have gone a lot worse if Manectric used any strong move. Once Manectric faints, that means we've beaten the third gym, and now we have the ability to use Rock Smash outside of battle. We quickly grab Rock Smash since you have to go out of your way to get it, and teach it to Zigzagoon, so that we can proceed quickly through Route 112. Not much exactly happens here, or a lot of the following locations, so now we're at Fall Arbor Town. We quickly make our way to Meteor Falls and run into Team Magma for the first time. Though, yet again, this is another time where we don't actually have to fight. That is due to False Archie and Team Aqua making them run away. We leave south of Meteor Falls and go through Rust Turf Tunnel to both open the shortcut and actually get the A-Shun for Strength. Then we make our way back through Route 111 so that we can go up to Mount Chimney. We see Team Aqua and Team Magma duking it out, which is not going to be the last time we see it. And of course, we eventually are challenged by Maxie himself. Maxie is a bit dangerous in multiple regards. He starts the battle with the Mightyena, which lowers Wurmple's attack. However, that means that for the entire battle, we will have a minus attack debuff on us. But luckily we were able to crit the Mightyena, so that stat drop is actually ignored. We proceed to crit his Zubat too, which was another Pokemon I was worried about due to its flying type. Luckily it isn't a Golbat yet, so it's not as dangerous as it could be. Lastly was his ace, Camerupt, which was one of the most worrisome Pokemon to appear in a while. It's defensive, and it's a fire type. We beat Maxie though, after a couple of tackles on Camerupt, and we can just, now that they're gone, we can feel free to just head down Jagged Pass and enter Lava Ridge Town. Once we immediately enter Lava Ridge, we have access to the fourth gym. So I chose to do exactly that. I needed to see if I could take it on, so why not just do that? But this gym will definitely be difficult. Much like the first gym, this gym's typing is something Wurmple is weak to, specifically fire. Flannery, of course, has Pokemon that are really defensive as well, since most fire types in Hoenn are defensive. She has Numel, the Pokemon I can't really remember the name of, Camerupt, and Torkoal. In order to win the fight, I would need luck on my side, and that's what I got. I wasn't too worried about Numel or the Pokemon I forgot the name of. They both went down in a single tackle. It appears that maybe Wurmple's gotten stronger since then, so that Pokemon that I forgot the name of wasn't as difficult as it was in the Brendan fight. Camerupt, though, was a bit scarier due to it being more defensive, but in about 5 tackles or so, I was able to take it out. Now, Torkoal was scary. It has Overheat that could immediately take out my Wurmple if given the chance. And of course, it has a pretty decent defense and special attack stats, so it would definitely be scary. I got a lucky crit though, and it KO'd the Torkoal in a single hit. So I didn't really have much to worry about, I guess. But that means we beat the 4th gym. So now we're halfway through the gyms, and that means we actually have to go back to Petalburg, because that's really how Emerald usually is. You have to beat the first 4 gyms, and then you have to go fight Norman. In other games, Norman may actually be a lot harder in comparison due to having 2 slackings in every other Hoenn game. But in Emerald, he has arguably a better team when it comes to how I would be a gym leader. And he has a Vigoroth, a Slacking, a Spinda, and a Linoon. Most of his Pokemon weren't too scary. His Vigoroth, Spinda, and Linoon all fainted in about 2 tackles, but the Slacking was definitely the scariest. We had to use Poison Stings multiple times so that we can actually successfully poison Slacking. That would help get us a good chunk of chip damage in so that we could reliably then just spam Tackle and hope Slacking missed all of its attacks. Here's actually a highlight from that fight.
Look, Brendan, I'm sorry for being your dad. I'm sorry for, like, dating your mom and becoming your dad, Brendan. But, like, he sees
But it seems you've been misinformed.
I was going, what the fuck?
Hijack a whole
What the
joke.
fuck, man?
Hijack an entire bit.
I fucking stole that bit like a highway robbery.
That was beautiful.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
We got lucky with Slacking, and exactly what I needed happened, allowing us to tackle it only about 8 times, which caused Slacking, of course, to faint, giving us the 5th badge. That also means we'll be able to actually use Surf outside of battle, which means that Meryl we caught back around the start of the game will actually have use now. We head over to Mauville City so that we can now cross Route 118. Basically, everything through Route 118 and Route 119 is about the same. We also have to do the weather research station because it's another story beat. And of course we obtain Cast Form, but that won't really be of use. And now, actually, here is the last Brendan fight. Though this is technically the 4th of 5, there's no other actual mandatory Brendan fight, so this will be the last one. Brendan starts the fight with the Lombre, so of course, since we have Poison Sting, Lombre was taken out rather quickly. Yet again, he sends out that Pokemon that I still can't, like, it's like on the tip of my tongue. I genuinely don't remember the name of it. But in like a couple of tackles, it was able to be taken out without too much challenge. And last, of course, was his Marshtomp. It's still extremely defensive, but we were able to get a crit with Tackle, so it wasn't too difficult. Brendan gives us the HM for Fly, and then we proceed to Foretree City. We can't exactly do the gym yet, so we have to move a little bit into Route 120. I made sure to catch a Linoon first, so I could have a Pokemon with Strength, and once we reach the bridge on Route 120, we meet Steve again, and he gives us the Devon Scope. This actually allows us to see Kecleon, and now that we have that, we can proceed to the 6th gym. The 6th gym is another scary one due to it being flying. We're really not getting a break now, are we? Winona also just a scary flying-type Pokemon in general. Her team consists of Swablu, Tropius, Skarmory, Pelipper, and Altaria. Problem is, I went into the battle while paralyzed. So that one roadblock is going to make the battle much harder than it should have been. Swablu was easily the easiest Pokemon in her team. I just needed to tackle it once and Wurmple took it out no problem. She sent out Altaria next, and that was one of the 2 scariest things she could have sent out. We needed multiple critical hits with Tackle, and luckily, that's exactly what I got. If she was able to set up with Dragon Dance enough times, she could have easily taken out Wurmple in a single hit. Following that came Tropius, which is a little bit easier, arguably as easy as Swablu due to being weak to Poison Sting. Next was her Pelipper, and it took some time. However, we were able to tackle it enough, allowing it to faint. However, it did succeed in a Supersonic, meaning we'd be going into the last Pokemon not only confused, but still paralyzed. Last, of course, was her Skarmory, which is a Steel Flying type. Our only option here was Tackle. Poison Sting was not going to work due to Steel being immune to poison, which means we could only use Tackle. We had to whittle it down a lot, but after, I'd say about 10 tackles or so, we beat the 6th gym. We now have the ability to use Fly outside of battle, and now we have to get through a lot of the game's story beats. Firstly, we go back to Route 120, and of course, yet again, Route 120 is not an eventful route, and neither is Route 121. However, we actually have to move south of Route 21 and enter Mount Pyre, as we saw Team Aqua heading there. Once we climb the mountain, of course, we notice that there's more Team Aqua guns there, and we have to fight them to see exactly what's happening, right? We meet False Archie again, and we find out that Maxie has already taken the blue orb, and False Archie then takes the red orb, leaving after that. The old man gives us the magma emblem, and then we're free to leave. We now have to head over to Lily Cove, just to get it in the fly list, and then we just fly over to Lava Ridge. Once there, we take the trolley and go back to Jagged Pass, unlocking the path into the Magma Hideout. Magma Hideout is not a location I'm completely knowledgeable in. I've only recently played Emerald for the first time, so I got lost almost immediately. I spent probably like 20-30 minutes in this area, but there was a highlight that did come from it.
No, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll fucking do it. I'll do it, motherfucker.
Is that a threat?
I swear on Wurmple, I'll do it.
Don't make me.
We should acknowledge Stacy's mom as an innovator in the MILF field.
God.
That's a highlight for sure.
Hey, can you edit me out of the video?
But eventually, when I did figure out where exactly I was going, Maxie shows us how powerful he is by succeeding in awakening Groudon before we even have to battle him. For, what, the second time? We haven't even fought False Archie once, now that I realize it. But we're already more than halfway through the game, and we've only fought Maxie twice. That aside, we have to fight him, and yet again, he's still scary. Much like the previous fight, he starts out with Mighty Anna, causing an Intimidate. But surprisingly, just like the previous fight, we got a crit on the Mighty Anna, taking it out in a single hit. This time, he actually sends out Camera second, and Wurmple is in a major spot of danger. We are able to poison it with Poison Sting and then hit it with a critical tackle, taking out Camera. The last big danger of the fight, of course, was his final Pokemon, which I'm realizing now that I say this, all of his Pokemon are dangerous, which, yeah, that's the case. Crobat is a lot scarier. Due to it being poison flying, we can't really poison it, and it also is a flying type, which means it could easily take us out. But luckily I was able to survive one of its attacks, and 2 tackles took it out. Beating Maxie allows us to leave the Magma Hideout. I don't want to come back here ever again. We quickly fly back to Slateport and deal with Team Aqua stealing the submarine. That's really all we need to do here, so we can now head back to Lily Cove. We now have access to the Aqua Hideout, which we actually quickly can get through this. This place is a lot easier to navigate than Magma Hideout, so we don't have too much of a problem here. We quickly get the Master Ball, and we don't fight False Archie yet, so we immediately can just leave once we see the submarine go away. We have no other options, and we also need the HM for Dive. The only option left was fighting the 7th gym. The 7th gym seems like it would be easy for us, however, it's actually going to be really hard. Wurmple, of course, doesn't learn any attacking bug-type moves, which means our best attack for this battle is probably going to be Tackle. And that would be fine for Tate and Liza's Xatu and Claydol, but their aces, Solrock and Lunatone, would resist it. And that's going to be where the hard part is. I targeted Xatu first due to it being a flying type, and a single tackle was able to take it out. I'm pretty sure it was a higher roll. It seems unlikely that an average roll would have done that. Claydol was a worry as well for its defenses, but I was able to land a crit on it, making it a lot easier than it could have been. Solrock and Lunatone were definitely challenges, but all I had to do was whittle them down by poisoning them and spamming Tackle. Eventually, both of them were defeated as well, gaining us the 7th badge. And we now have the ability to use Dive, but we don't actually have the HM for it yet. The next order of business is actually to head to the Space Center, as like how Team Aqua invaded Mount Pyre, Team Magma has invaded the Space Center. We meet Steven on the 2nd floor and have a double battle with him, and of course I only bring in Wurmple. We have to fight Maxie and Matt together, who send out a Mighty Anna and a Camera respectively. It's a tough battle, but we start by tackling the Mighty Anna, beating it in a single hit. Maxie then sends in Camera. I start to tackle Maxie's Camera, taking it out too. Maxie sends out Crobat, but this time I actually choose to target Matt's Camera because it started setting up too much and I got scared, leading to Matt sending out Golbat. I proceeded to use Tackle on the Golbat and defeated it almost immediately. And next, Matt sent out Mighty Anna. And another Intimidate means that we now have a -2 to our attack. Any attack now, I would need to crit in order to succeed. Matang defeats Crobat with a Psychic, while Wurmple defeats the Mighty Anna with a critical Tackle. Thus, yet again, we've beaten Maxie. Now that we've helped Steven out, we go to his house and he gives us HM8 Dive, which I immediately teach to Meryl. I quickly get to Route 128 so that I can dive into the seafloor cavern. Once I entered the seafloor cavern, I used Dive again to actually enter the cave. We definitely run through it, and in comparison to Magma Hideout, this location isn't too difficult to get through. It definitely isn't easy. It's not the Team Aqua Hideout. But Seafloor Cavern is far from the worst dungeon in the game. Once I get through, just like Maxie, we fight False Archie, whose team is almost actually the exact same, which leads to battle being closely similar. Sharpedo replaces Camera Up though, and I would say that actually makes it easier since it doesn't have any super effective moves. We're able to take out in about 2 tackles, and we watch as False Archie awakens Kyogre. Once Kyogre leaves the seafloor, Maxie comes in telling False Archie that he's messed up. And we see the ramifications of reviving the slumbering giants as we're automatically brought outside of the seafloor cavern. We then have to find our way to Sootopolis City, and it definitely takes a while, but once we do, we see the 2 giants duking it out, while Groudon is noticeably at a very big disadvantage due to it not being 2014 yet. We meet Steven again, and he suggests we meet someone in the Cave of Origin, and when we do, we meet this totally unknown figure, only unique to Pokemon Emerald, a fellow by the name of Wallace. He advises we go to Sky Pillar, and of course, we leave the Cave of Origin, so that we can do exactly that. Though, I do stop at Moss Steep, so that I can buy some healing items for the future, and some max repels, so I don't have to deal with wild encounters. It was a little difficult finding the tower, but when I do, the ascent wasn't too difficult. There was this moment that happened while trying to find the tower though, so take a look.
You know, Eris, I gotta say, like, ever since, like, we started this video, I've been feeling, like, hungry, you know? Like,
Yeah.
not even for meat, just for leaves. Like,
Are you
just,
are
like,
you suggesting that you are turning
leaves,
into a werewolf?
just the leaves on, like, the tree branches, you know? Not even, like, spinach, just,
Okay.
and also the sap. Like, I just want to climb up a
Were
tree
you watching
and
The
just,
Last Dinosaur? What's going on?
like,
On.
I don't know. I kind of want to get the sap from the tree in my backyard, but like I'm kind of scared of the birds. Like,
Oh my god.
I might have to poison him or something.
Maybe tackle him?
Maybe. Maybe get some like silly string from the store and use like a string shot or something.
Yeah.
Like, I
mean,
really need that sap.
If you sting him, it'll probably be poisonous, right?
Probably. But I really need that sap.
You know,
No,
all the things that I
normal.
expected to
I'm
happen
normal.
today, Wurmple TF was not one of them.
Okay, you didn't have to go ahead and make it weird. You didn't have to make it weird. Okay.
Oh my god.
You didn't have to make it weird.
At the top of the tower, we speak to Rayquaza, and Rayquaza goes to deal with the melodrama of the two gods. We fly back to Sootopolis as we watch one of the best cutscenes in all of Pokemon. Once it ends, we go back to Sky Pillar to meet with Rayquaza again.
Wurmple time.
Finally made it.
Oh yeah! Yo!
Bro, it's a shiny
No.
Rayquaza?
No way! Shiny Rayquaza!
You got a fucking shiny Rayquaza. Okay, Eris,
Oh my God.
Eris, we're going.
Catch it?
Eris, we're going to the fucking like casino next time. You have the best fucking luck.
No way! First great
Oh
ball!
my fucking
Oh my god.
Oh
the
my
first
God.
great ball. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Bro.
Holy fucking-
By the way, can I buy some ender pearls?
Somehow, out of what is pure luck, I was able to get shiny Rayquaza. It was so lucky, in fact, that this felt like some sort of dream. Now that that was done, there was nothing in my way, and I was able to fly back to Sootopolis City. I had to talk to False Archie, Maxie, and Wallace before I could enter the final gym. The puzzle wasn't too difficult due to me having experience with this type of puzzle before, so not before long, I was ready to fight Juan. Juan is an interesting fight, as all of his Pokemon are water type. This isn't necessarily bad for Wurmple, but it's not good for us either. Juan starts out with Love Disc, which is easily his worst Pokemon, in the sense that it's good for us. I was able to take it out with a single tackle. He then sends out his hardest Pokemon, Kingdra. Kingdra is difficult due to its penchant to use Double Team, but luckily my tackle hit critically, thus leading to Kingdra fainting first turn. The major hurdle was over, now was the rest of his team. He follows up with Celia, which requires a couple of tackles due to it being a much more defensive Pokemon, but we were able to safely take it out. And in a similar vein, Wishcash is sent out, but yet again, just like Celio, we were able to take it out quite quickly. If this was Gen 4, Crawdaunt would be a lot scarier, due to it being mainly a physical attacker. However, since it's Gen 3, Crawdaunt was kind of not as good as it should have been, so we were able to take it out in a couple tackles. We've defeated Juan, and now we've obtained every single gym badge, and it was time to head to Victory Road. Since we were given Waterfall by Wallace, we only needed to teach it to Meryl, and we were on the road to Evergrande City. We had to swim over there first, but once we got there, the end was in sight. It was time to enter Victory Road. I've only actually gone through Emerald Victory Road once before, since I only had just played it for the first time a couple days ago, so my knowledge of navigating it isn't that good. However, before we actually do navigate it, we have the second and last battle with Wally. It's odd that he's sort of like this major rival character, though he only has 2 battles in the entire game. It's really interesting how that is. Wally starts the battle using his Altaria. This could have easily been scary, much like Winona's if it was able to set up, but we were able to get an early Poison Sting crit, making it faint in a single attack. Following that came Delcatty, which was a lot easier to beat, but we hit it with Tackle instead, and it fainted the same turn. He sends out Magneton, which could have been scary. I had to crit the Tackle in order to take it out in a single hit, and somehow, luck have it, that's exactly what happened. The second to last Pokemon was Roselia, and that was easily the easiest. Though Poison Sting does super effective damage, it does neutral damage, which is good enough. We were able to take it out in a single hit. His last Pokemon is his Gardevoir, and yet again, even though we're a bug type, we have no bug type attacks. So our best bet was just to tackle it a couple times, which then made it faint. Once the Gardevoir faints, we've successfully beaten Wally for the last and only second time, and now we just need to get past the rest of Victory Road. Victory Road is definitely confusing, but due to having 2 Lidoons, a Marill, and a Kadabra, we don't struggle all that much when it comes to HMs. Soon later, we fully escaped Victory Road, and finally, basking our eyes upon the Pokemon League. After buying a couple healing items, it was time to begin. Though, of course, there was a fun highlight that happened right before.
Okay, you're about to fight the Elite Four?
Yeah?
Okay, before you go in, can you go on Wurmple's page for a second? Okay, now, Wurmple, like, we've been here for, like, we've been journeying together for, like, a long time.
Yeah.
And, like, listen, it took me a long time to realize these feelings, but I love you, Wurmple. Like, so, like, I denied it at first because, like, you know, there's no way a dog could ever get together with, like, a worm. Like, people just wouldn't accept that. But like, I don't care what the law thing. We'll just get married in fucking Indonesia or some shit. All right, like fucking, like come on, you'll go out with me, right? Right?
What?
Wurmple? Can I at least get a ride back?
Jesus.
Hello?
Alright. It's time to do this.
And so I drove to Harper's Ferry and I thought about you.
First off was Sydney, the Dark-type Elite Four member. He starts off with Mightyena, which causes us to be inflicted by Intimidate. That means to beat his Mightyena, we need to critically hit with Tackle, and it succeeds. His Absol wasn't too bad to take out either, being able to take it out in a single hit. Shiftry and Cacturn were a lot easier in comparison, due to them being weak to Poison Sting. And his Crawdaunt, much like Juan's, just needed a single tackle because it's not that good until Gen 4. With that, the first Elite Four member was defeated, so next we could move on to Phoebe, the Ghost-type Elite Four member. She didn't have anything that would hurt us badly, but she was going to still definitely be a difficult challenge due to her defensive Pokemon. The first 2 Pokemon were her 2 Dusclops. We needed to critically hit on Poison Sting for both of them to take them out, and that's exactly what happened. One of her Bayonets was next, and it only needed to be hit with a single Poison Sting, not even a crit. Sableye was definitely going to be a lot harder than the previous Pokemon, but in a couple stings, Sableye was defeated. It's not that offensive a Pokemon, so we were able to survive most of its attacks. Her last Pokemon, the other Bayonet, was about as easy as the first. It only needed a single Poison Sting, and it was fainted. That is 2 Elite Four members down, 2 to go. The third Elite Four member is the Ice-type trainer, Glacia. Her Pokemon are quite defensive, so this is going to be a bit difficult. We're gonna have to get critical hits. Wurmple's first tackle took out her Celio, which means that maybe high-rolling moves can at least take out the Celios. She then proceeded to send out one of her Glalie, which I think it was a high-roll tackle that took it out. Maybe I don't need crits after all. That's what I was thinking at the time. So we had to basically see what was going on. She sent out her second Celio, and the same thing happened. Maybe I was underestimating Wurmple here. She then sent out her other Glalie, and I hit it with Tackle, but a crit, so I can't really say whether or not the Glalie situation was just a high roll or not. Once it fainted though, she sent out her ace, Walrein. Walrein was a scary Pokemon due to when it was hit with a crit on Tackle, it just barely survived, but the next Tackle was also a crit. Somehow she didn't use a healing item this turn, so all we had to do was hit her with another Tackle, and Walrein was defeated. Oh, that was a close one for sure. With that finished, we only had 1 Elite Four member left, but that's also the hardest one. Drake is the Dragon-type Elite Four member, and he starts out with Shelgon, which isn't terrible, but its high defense will at least give us a bit of challenge. We were able to crit with Poison Sting, but it did survive. However, it was inflicted with poison, and that poison is what made Shelgon faint. Proceeded to then send out Altaria, which, much like Winona's or Wally's Altaria, could have been extremely dangerous if it's set up. but a lucky crit on Tackle was able to take out Altaria in a single hit. If we were using an Ice-type Pokemon, the rest of Drake's Pokemon would be a whole lot easier. However, we are just a Wurmple. His next Pokemon is Flygon. Poison Sting would be useless because it's not very effective, so I opted to just use Tackle, which, luckily enough, just like Altaria, a crit was able to take the Flygon out in a single hit. We had 2 Pokemon left to deal with, starting with his ace, Salamence. It intimidated us, which was definitely a worry, but a critical hit, Poison, was enough to take the beast from hero to 0, leaving us with one last roadblock, Kingdra. Kingdra, no matter which trainer it is a scary Pokemon to see, so our best bet was to do the same thing we did with Shelgon. We didn't crit it, but we got the poison off. We took some damage with Ice Beam, but we lived. This allowed us to get a Tackle off for slightly better power, and the poison finished it off. That was the toughest fight yet, but now we can head to Wallace. Wallace is the champion exclusively in Emerald, and he's the only Water-type specialist champion. He starts out the battle with Wailord, but a single tackle is enough to take the 47-foot whale down. He then sent out Tentacruel, being that it's a Water Poison type. Poison Sting would be the far worse option here, so I opted to tackle it. After a couple, Tentacruel fainted. Next he sent in Milotic, which is much scarier. It is well known for its special defense, but luckily, we were a physical attacker. It took a couple of tackles and some poison stings as well to inflict poison, but we were able to defeat his Milotic. Gyarados was up next, which means that it intimidates us, meaning our attack is weakened. However, luckily we're able to crit, and the Gyarados was taken out in a single hit. He proceeded to then send out Ludicolo, which was actually good for us. Due to it being a grass type, we could use Poison Sting to take it out in 2 hits. And it was on to his last Pokemon, Whiscash. Whiscash was surprising, as unlike his other Pokemon, this one actually took us a while to beat it due to our lower attack. We had to stall out Wallace as he kept using full restores, but eventually we were able to get past and defeat Wallace. This fight is definitely a lot easier than many we faced before, but Pokemon champions are still formidable foes. With Wallace defeated, we can watch Wurmple enter the Hall of Fame, and let the credits roll. Though, we technically aren't done yet. We had one last thing to deal with. This will be the only fight I use items in, due to Steven being a much harder challenge. I bought 6 X defense, speeds, attacks, and a dire hit. I did notice that since I beat the game, Brandon no longer stands in front of the Lily Cove department store, thus we have free access to actually enter it whenever we please. Once I was done with buying the necessary items, it was time to head to Steven's location in Meteor Falls and finish the run for good. Steven starts out with Skarmory, meaning that its only attacking moves are Steel, Wing, and Aerial Ace, with the latter being a lot scarier. We quickly increased Wurmple's defense so that we could survive any of Skarmory's attacks. Then we had to just increase its speed and special attack. The last item we used was a dire hit due to wanting that increased crit chance. Now that that is all prepared, the games were ready to begin. Skarmory was a bit scary of a first Pokemon due to it having Steel Wing, which has the chance of raising its defense, though it only actually raised its defense once, so we were pretty safe in that regard. We used a tackle, and Skarmory fainted in a single hit. And the true is the same for the rest of his Pokemon, even his Aggron and his Metagross. The only Pokemon that differentiated this, though, was Cradilly, as Cradilly would take more damage from Poison Sting than Tackle. Once his final Pokemon fainted, the battle ended. So did the run, with a total time of 5 hours and 8 minutes. When it comes to the question of whether it's possible to beat Pokemon Emerald with a Wurmple, I'm confident that this video shows substantial proof that the answer is yes. This was a fun challenge to actually do, and I'm glad to show off my first ever Pokemon run. This run has also helped me fall in love with Wurmple, and because of this run, it's now one of my favorite Pokemon, and especially one of my favorite early game bugs, if not my favorite early game bug. I really want to do more of these in the future, as Pokemon challenges are really fun as they change the way you think about the game. So, speaking of that, come back next time where I try to see if I could beat Pokemon Crystal with only a Why Not. Thanks for watching, have a good one, and bye-bye.